A very good morning to everyone. I'm Dr. Jayalakshmi. Today I'm going to discuss KMC, breastfeeding, and feeding in low birth weight and preterm. Can anyone tell me what is the today's dates and then significance of this week from August 1st to August 7th? So we are celebrating breastfeeding week from August 1st to August 7th. Okay. Today I'll discuss in detail breast milk benefits and then how to feed in low birth weight and preterms. Okay. And breast milk is the best food and it's an ideal food for neonates and it's the best gift a mother can give to baby. Okay. Then ensuring exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months, it has potential to reduce under 5 mortality by 13%. Okay. And it is the most documented effective strategy to decrease infant mortality. So World Breastfeeding Week from August 1st to August 7th. Okay. Can anyone tell this year's slogan? So this year's slogan is support breastfeeding for a healthier planet. Okay. And this one is last year's slogan, 2019, enable breastfeeding. Okay. WABA is World Alliance for Breastfeeding Association. Before going to breastfeeding, I'll discuss few points regarding kangaroo mother care. Okay. This term came from kangaroo care. Actually, it has a marsupial pouch which it provides warmth to the baby, and then it has access to breast milk for unlimited. Okay. So what are the components in KMC or kangaroo mother care? First thing is kangaroo position, and then kangaroo nutrition, and then kangaroo discharge and follow up. First thing is in kangaroo position, there is skin to skin contact of baby and mother, and then baby should be placed in between the breasts and underneath the clothes. Okay. And then kangaroo nutrition. Kangaroo nutrition basic concept is when baby is close to mother's breast, it increases milk production, and then there is much more production of milk, and then exclusive breastfeeding is possible with this kangaroo position. Next, kangaroo discharge and follow-up. Kangaroo discharge means early discharge of newborn, which is the basic concept of KMC. And then baby should be followed even after discharge for the growth and then a development of the baby. Okay. And then benefits. Benefits, they are physiological and clinical benefits. Physiological benefits is it keeps the baby warm and cozy, and then it leads to stabilization of vitals like heart rate, respiratory rate, and then sleep pattern and respiratory patterns, they will be also stabilized. Okay. And then clinical benefits. Clinical benefits, it causes increased production of milk, and then as a result there is exclusive breastfeeding is possible, and then it promotes thermal regulation, and then as a result there is increased weight gain, and then it causes decreased incidence of infections by promoting normal growth. Okay. And then criteria for eligibility are baby and mother. Baby criteria, any stable low birth weight baby. Okay. So first thing is, before going to this, we should know when do you say low birth weight, very low birth weight, and extremely low birth weight. Okay. Low birth weight is less than 2,500 grams, and then very low birth weight is 1,500 grams. Extremely low birth weight is less than 1,000 grams. Okay. So any low birth weight baby should be stable. Okay. And then if baby vitals they are unstable, we have to give radiant warm care and then until hemodynamic stability, we have to provide a care. Okay, and then mother. Any mother, irrespective of age, parity, education, and relation, she should be eligible. And then next, mother should be interested to give KMC. Okay, along with that, she should take other family members, and then we should enlighten the importance of KMC, and then we should allay her anxieties and then clear her doubts, okay, before starting KMC. And then we have to make contact with other persons who are giving KMC so that she can clear her doubts, okay. So KMC protocol, first thing is birth weight. If birth weight is less than 1200 grams, it may take days to weeks before KMC can be initiated. Until then, radiant warmer can be used. Then from 1200 to 1800 grams, it may take a few days before KMC can be initiated. And then more than 1800 grams, KMC can be initiated immediately after birth. Next, initiation of KMC counseling. First thing is counseling, and then mother's clothing, and then baby's clothing. In counseling, we have to give the importance and enlighten the important benefits of KMC to the baby and to the mother. And then we have to create the awareness, and then we have to allay her anxieties. Okay. Next thing is, after post-discharge follow-up, we have to check whether she's giving KMC appropriately or not. Okay, and then mother should attain semi-reclining position or 30 degrees from horizontal position so that it prevents gastroesophageal reflux in newborns. Okay, and then mother's clothing. Mother can wear any light clothes with front open. Okay, it can be according to their religious and customs. Okay, it can be preferably done in sari or gown or under shawl. And then baby's clothing. Baby should be draped with diapers, and then baby should dressed with cap, mitten, socks, and then with front open clothes to ensure chest to chest contact, okay, skin to skin contact. And then baby abdomen should be at the level of mother epigastrium. So in this, mother and father practicing KMC in front open gown, okay. And this one is AIMS KMC jacket, okay. Then mother performing KMC using AIMS KMC jacket. You can see front open, okay, in this jacket. Next is procedure, okay. Kangaroo position, okay. In this, the newborn with front open dress, baby is kept in vertical position in between breasts, and then with neck slightly extended, and then it shouldn't be too much flexed or extended. It should be a little bit extended, okay. And then head is turned to one side with upper limbs in flexed position, arms, and then hips are flexed, okay. And then baby's abdomen should be at the level of mother's epigastrium. Next, when mother takes breathing, it stimulates baby, and as a result, it prevents apnea. And then prior to this, mother should maintain proper hygiene, and then mother should take adequate diet and vitamins. And then mother also should take adequate rest, and then support from the other family members. It is very vital. Why? Because after post-discharge, without family support, we can't do anything, okay? And then monitoring, okay? During initial KMC procedures, we have to monitor for baby vitals, and then we have to check baby airway, and then breathing pattern, and then color of the baby, okay. And then we have to teach mother how to check these important signs, and then when to refer should also in detail we should explain to the mother. Okay, and then feeding. It causes, when baby is nearer to the breast, it causes increased production of milk, and then that milk should be expressed, and then through paladi or spoon baby should be fed, and then exclusive breastfeeding is possible through this. Then privacy, according to the standard of care, it should be given. Next, duration. Initially we have to give small sessions, and then later on it should be increased to minimum 1 hour to daily 24 hours KMC. Okay, if it is KMC is less than 1 hour, we are unnecessarily disturbing the baby, and then it causes faulty growth. Okay, then we should know when to stop KMC. Okay, KMC is continue till the baby finds it comfortable and cozy. Okay, KMC is unnecessary when the baby attains a weight of 2500 grams and a gestation of 37 weeks, and then and baby wiggles out or cries, or when and baby suffers from full sweating, we have to stop KMC. Okay, then coming to breastfeeding topic. So these are the 10 steps in baby friendly hospital initiative. Okay, these are important. Okay, 10 steps in baby friendly hospital initiative. First thing is we should have a written breastfeeding policy that is routinely communicated to all healthcare staff. Train all healthcare staff in skills necessary to implement this policy. Inform all pregnant women about the benefits and management of breastfeeding, and then help mothers initiate breastfeeding within 1 to 1.5 hour birth. Then show mothers how to breastfeed and maintain lactation even if they should be separated from their infants. And other steps are give newborn infants no food or drink other than breast milk unless medically indicated. And then practice rooming in, that is allow mothers and infants to remain together 24 hours a day. Then encourage breastfeeding on demand. Give no artificial teats or pacifiers to breastfeeding infants, and then foster the establishment of breastfeeding support groups and refer mothers to them on discharge from the hospital or clinic. And benefits of breast milk. Okay, nutritional superiority. Breast milk, it contains all the necessary nutrients and vitamins in appropriate quantity and quality. Okay, and then ideal breastfeeding with only multivitamin supplementation is only necessary until first 6 months of life. Then coming to carbohydrates. Breast milk, it has lactose, which constitutes 6 to 7 gram per deciliter, and then it helps in absorption of calcium, and then it promotes growth of lactobacilli, and then it also has galactose, which is necessary for the formation of galactocerebrides. Coming to proteins. Proteins, they are 0.9 to 1.1 gram per deciliter in breast milk, and then these proteins, they are lactoalbumin, lactoglobulin, it constitutes 60 to 70%, and then other amino acids are cysteine and taurine, they are also present. Next is fats. Breast milk, it has polyunsaturated fatty acids, which are necessary for neuromodulation and transmission, and then it also has omega-2 and omega-6 fatty acids, which are necessary for formation of steroids. And then vitamins and minerals. Vitamins, they have the bioavailability and quantity which is sufficient for to support first 6 months of life. Then water and electrolytes. Breast milk, it constitutes 88% of water. So even in summer, there is no need to supplement with water. Only breast milk is sufficient. Then immunological superiority. Breast milk, it contains secretory IgA, lysozyme, interferons, and macrophages, lymphocytes. Okay, and these help in reduction of respiratory and diarrhea. Okay, it causes 14 times less mortality in case of diarrhea and 4 times less mortality in case of respiratory infections. And then protection against other illnesses. It protects from ear infections, orthodontal problems, and then allergies. Next, mental growth. When baby is breastfed, it is bonded to baby. As a result, they have high IQ. And then other benefits are it contains epidermal growth factors, enzymes, and hormones. Epidermal growth factors, they promote promotion of epidermal lining of intestines. As a result, there is decreased incidence of allergies and asthmas. Okay. Next thing is it also has lipases, which results in digestion of fats. Okay. And then the other advantage of breastfeeding to the mother are it is convenient and it is cheaper than artificial milk. Then it helps in expulsion of placenta and minimizes risk of PPH, and it has calming effect. And then it causes shedding of extra weight which was gained during pregnancy. So as a result, contour becomes normal. And then it reduces the risk of cancer of breast and ovary. And then advantages to both mother and child are it develops a close loving bond, and then it promotes spacing, and then cost benefits. Okay. Coming to breast anatomy. Breast, it consists of glandular tissue and then supporting tissue and fat. Okay. In glandular tissue, we have sac-like cells which produce milk. Okay. This one is sac-like cells which produce milk. Okay. And then it is lined by myoepithelial cells. Okay. They promote expulsion of milk into the ducts, and then these ducts, they enlarge to form lactiferous sinuses, and then at the margin of areola and other remaining breast, lactiferous sinuses are there. Okay, so baby should suck not at nipple but at the junction of areola and other and remaining breast. Okay, and then in areola it is supplied by rich network of nerve endings, and then it has Montgomery glands, small enlarged glands. It produces an oily fluid which makes the skin soft. Okay, and then milk is secreted by hormone prolactin, which is secreted by anterior pituitary gland, and then muscle cells. Upon this, oxytocin acts. Okay, coming to physiology of lactation. In that, prolactin reflex or milk secretion reflex, and then oxytocin or milk ejection reflex. Prolactin, it is produced by anterior pituitary gland, is responsible for milk secretion by alveolar epithelial cells, and then oxytocin reflex is also known as milk ejection reflex. It is produced by posterior pituitary gland, and then this is affected by mother's emotions. So a relaxed and confident attitude, it helps the milk ejection reflex. So when a baby suckles, sensory impulses from nipple reaches the anterior pituitary, and then prolactin is secreted in blood. Okay, so prolactin is secreted after feed to produce next feed. Then coming to oxytocin reflex, this when baby starts suckle, sensory impulses from nipples, it reaches posterior pituitary and then oxytocin in blood. So it works before or during feed to make milk flow. Next, oxytocin reflex, which factors help and which factors hinder reflex we should know. Okay, so things lovingly of baby, even sound and sight of baby, they instill confidence. And then factors which hinder reflex are worry, stress, pain, doubt, and sleeplessness also. It causes hindrance of reflex. And other factors which reduce milk production are dummies and pacifiers and bottles. Other than this, they cause infections. Okay, as a result, there is infant mortality rate. And then giving supplements such as sugar water, bright water, or other formula feeds, either as prelacteal means before initiation of feeding, or supplemental means concurrent to breastfeeding. Okay. And then other painful breast conditions like sore nipple, breast abscess, and breast engorgement, mastitis, all these causes decreased milk production. And then lack of night feeding, it also reduces milk production. Okay. When there is night feeding also is there is production of prolactin. If it is not there, so there is decreased production of prolactin. So milk secretion is decreased. And then inadequate emptying of breast also reduces milk production. Coming to breastfeeding reflexes. These are rooting reflex, sucking and swallowing reflex. Rooting reflex is when something is touches lips or cheek, baby opens mouth and puts tongue down and forward and searches for nipple. Okay. Then sucking is when something touches the palate, baby sucks. Okay. Third is swallowing reflex. When mouth fills with milk, baby swallows. Okay. Breastfeeding is a skill both the mother and baby has to learn over the time. Okay. Breastfeeding, it becomes natural and pleasurable experience to mother if given properly. Okay. You can see when baby's cheek or angle of mouth is touched, baby starts opening their mouth. Okay. And then suckling reflex. For suckling reflex, good attachment or latching should be there. Okay. Baby should latch upon areola and nipple. Okay. Not only on nipple. Okay. If latchment is improper, it leads to nipple sore. Okay. See, you can see only there is nipple. Okay, baby is attached. As in, what happens is milk production is not adequate. So baby in frustration and anger sucks vigorously. As a result, nipple sore is seen. Okay. And then coming to swallowing reflex. In swallowing reflex, the suckle swallow breath cycle, it lasts for about 1 second. In congenital heart disease, maybe of slow feeding, small volumes and consumed during each feed, tiring easily following feeds, and then the requirement of periods of rest during feeds. Normally, suck, 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 swallow, swallow, breathing. Okay, but in this process, it should be completed within 1 second. Okay. In case of congenital heart disease, it is very tiring for them. Okay. There is excessive sweating involving forehead or occiput due to sympathetic stimulation. And then the types of breast milk are colostrum, transitional milk, mature milk, preterm milk, fore milk, and hind milk. Colostrum, it is secreted during first 2 to 3 days, and it is yellow, thick, and small quantity, but it has more antibodies and WBC, and it has high protein. It should never be discarded. And then transitional milk. Transitional milk is secreted after 3 days to until 2 weeks. It contains immunoglobulins and low protein content. It has increased fat and sugar content. And then coming to mature milk and preterm milk. Mature milk, it follows transitional milk and it is more thinner and watery and it contains all essential nutrients for growth of the baby. Then coming to preterm milk, it is the milk secreted before 37 weeks of gestation. And then it has high quantity of proteins, sodium, iron and immunoglobulins. Then coming to fore milk and hind milk. When baby starts feeding, the milk initially it's known as fore-milk, and it has low fat and high lactose, and it quenches baby thirst. Okay, and then after that, due to milk ejection reflex, milk and sticking fat and yolks are squeezed, and it is hind milk. Okay, it has high fat milk, and then it satisfies the baby hunger. Okay, for milk, milk secretes starter feed, and it is watery, rich in protein, sugar, vitamins, minerals, and water, and it satisfies baby's thirst. And then hind milk, towards the end of the feed, rich in water fat content, and then it's for optimal growth. Baby needs both fore and hind milk. So for this, baby should be allowed to empty one breast fully first, and then to other breast. Okay. Baby receives only fore milk when baby cries excessively. So in this, you can see in fore milk, thin layer of creamy at the top. Okay. Whereas in this hind milk, thin layer of water level. Okay. Then preparation for successful breastfeeding. Motivate. First thing is you have to motivate mother before birth, and then select right place for the delivery, and then avoid unnecessary use of drugs prior to delivery, and then initiate breastfeeding soon after delivery. Then give colostrum and avoid prelacteal feeds. Then help baby suckle in a good position, and recommended demand feeding. And then continue each feed as long as baby wants, and do not wash nipple before and after every feed, and then caution mother in advance about engorgement of breast. Technique of breastfeeding. Okay, mother can attain any position, sitting or sleep, but back should be well supported. Okay, and then position of baby. Make sure that baby is wrapped in a properly neck cloth, and then whole body is supported, not just neck or shoulders. And then baby's head and body are in one line without any twist in the neck, and then baby's body is turned towards the mother, as if the both abdomens they should touch each other, and then baby's nose should be at the level of nipple. And this one is attachment or latching. Okay, in this you can clearly see the wide open mouth, and then we should see only upper areola. Okay, lower areola shouldn't be visible. If lower areola is visible, it means improper attachment. Okay, so what are the signs of good attachment? First thing is the baby's mouth is wide open, and most of the nipple and areola in the mouth, only upper areola is visible, and then baby's chin touches the breast, and baby's lower lip is everted. And then coming to issues in breastfeeding, they are inverted or flat nipples, sore nipples, breast engorgement, breast abscess, and not enough milk. In this, you can see inverted nipples. So we should rule out from flat and small nipples. Okay, flat and small nipples, they can be made prominent by eversion. Okay, and then inverted nipples, for this treatment is we have to make manually prominent and then everted and then stretched, or by using this syringe method. Okay, and then coming to sore nipple, you can see the erythematous, okay, on this nipple. And then when baby is improperly latched, what happens is baby with frustration and anger, when breast milk flow is very less, they suck very vigorously over the nipple, and then it causes this soreness of nipple. Okay, to avoid this, what we should do, we should promote good attachment or latching, and then we should wash nipple only once during bath. Okay, repeated washing or when baby is still sucking, we shouldn't keep them off from the breast. Okay. As a result, it causes soreness. Okay. We can continue breastfeeding even though sore nipple is there. Okay. So first thing is we can apply hind milk over the nipple, and then we have to let it dry in between feeds. Okay. And it's not a contraindication for breastfeeding. Then coming to breast engorgement. Milk production is increased on day 2 and day 3. Okay, as a result, sinuses, they are beyond their storing capacity. Breast milk is there. As a result, breast is firm, tense, warm, and then tender. Okay, so two reasons for this are, first thing is inadequate feeding, and then decreased frequency of feeding also, it causes breast engorgement. And then treatment is, to prevent breast engorgement, we should promote early lactation and then increased and regular frequency of feeding. Okay. And then we have to promote correct attachment also. Treatment are local warm water packs and then analgesics to relieve pain. And then we have to slowly massage and gently express milk to soften the breast. Then coming to breast abscess. You can see the abscess. So if conditions like engorged breast, cracked nipples, blocked duct or mastitis, if untreated, breast abscess develops. Okay. The symptoms are high grade fever and tenderness in breast with increased WBC count. And then the treatment is analgesics and antibiotics, and then it follows the dictum, wherever pus is there, we have to do incision and drainage. Okay. And then breastfeeding should be continued on other breast. Not enough milk. Okay. This is a common misperception in lactating mothers. Mother often complains, my breast milk is not sufficient for baby and it is not enough, like that. Okay. First thing is we have to check whether the baby is sleeping regularly for 2 to 3 hours after feed, and then passing urine 6 to 8 hours, 8 times in a 24-hour time. And then if properly weight gain is there, then we can reassure the baby mother as if milk is sufficient. Okay. And then we have to give psychological support when these criteria are met. Okay. And then causes are for not enough milk are when breastfeeding is infrequent, and then too short or hurried breastfeeds, then poor position or breast engorgement or mastitis. Then coming to expressed breast milk. When mother is not in a stage to breastfeed or baby is with any risk factors in NICU, we have to express breast milk. Even working mothers also, they can express their breast milk. Okay. So when milk is at room temperature, it can be used until 6 to 8 hours. Then when milk is kept in refrigerator, we can use it for 20 hours. And then when milk is in freezer at minus 20 degrees, we can use for 3 months. So what are the steps in expressed breast milk? First one is, step 1, we have to massage the breast gently towards the nipples. And then step 2, place the thumb and index finger opposite each other just outside the dark circle around the nipple. Then step 3, we have to press back towards the chest and then gently squeeze and release the milk. Then step 4 is, repeat step 3 in different positions around the areola. If breast milk expression is very low in this position, we have to move our fingers little bit nearer to the nipple and areola. And milk can be expressed by manual suction pump or through electronic suction pumps. Okay. Then coming to feeding of low birth weight babies. So nutritional management, it influences immediate survival as well as subsequent growth and development and long-term neurodevelopment outcomes of low birth weight infants. When malnutrition is there, there is deleterious effects on nervous system in experimental animals. Okay. And then feeding of low birth weight infants, in particular the preterm infants, is relatively difficult because of the following limitations. Because premature with inadequate feeding skills, and then they are prone to have significant illnesses, and then preterm infants have higher fluid requirements due to insensible water loss. Then preterm infants, they have low body stores of various nutrients at birth. Actually, the accretion of vitamins and nutrients happens more in third trimester. So if baby is born prior to this, so the baby is lacking all these vitamins and nutrients. And then gut is immature. Coming to the methods of feeding. The appropriate method of feeding in a given low birth weight infant is decided upon following factors: whether the infant is sick or not, and feeding ability of the infant. The infant can be sick due to seizures, shock, electrolyte abnormalities, and blood glucose level abnormalities. And then due to surgical conditions like hydrops and necrotizing enterocolitis, anything can cause sickness. So until hemodynamic stability is there, we shouldn't feed. Okay. Actually, when breastfeeding is promoted as early as possible, it is promotes the growth. Okay. And then even though when baby is on ventilator, we can give trophic feeds just to stimulate the gut. Okay. And then other factors are feeding ability of the infant, which is depends on the gestational maturity of the gestational age of the infant. So these are the other methods like Palladi feeding and then orogastric tube gavage feedings. Okay. So how to choose initial method of feeding? So when baby is born more than 34 weeks, we can initiate breastfeeding, and then we have to observe for any position and attachments are good, and then if baby is able to suck effectively and long enough. If it is yes, we can continue breastfeeding, and then if it is no, and then if baby is 30 to 34 weeks, we have to start feeds by spoon or Palladi, and then observe if accepting well without spilling or coughing, and then able to accept adequate amount. If yes, we can continue spoon or Palladi feeding. If it is no, and then on with the 28 to 31 weeks, we have to start feeds by orogastric or nasogastric tube. Then we have to observe if any vomiting or abdominal distension is there. If it is no, we can continue gastric tube feeding, and then if it is yes or less than 28 weeks, we have to start IV fluids. And then coming to maturation of oral feeding skills and choice of initial feeding method in low birth weight infants. Gestational age less than 28 weeks, there is inadequate sucking efforts and there is lack of propulsive gut motility. So initial feeding method is intravenous fluids. Then 28 to 31 weeks, sucking bursts develop. There is lack of coordination between suck, swallow and breathing. So we have to start orogastric or nasogastric tube feeding with occasional spoon or Palladi feeding. And then 32 to 34 weeks, slightly mature sucking pattern is seen. There is coordination between breathing and swallowing begins. So the feeding method is by spoon or Palladi. Then more than 34 weeks, there is mature sucking pattern. There is coordination between breathing and swallowing is there. So we can give directly breastfeeds. Progression of oral feedings in preterm, low birth weight infants, term and near-term sick infants started on intravenous fluids can be initiated on breastfeeding once they are hemodynamically stable. First thing is, when infant on IV fluids, if hemodynamically stable, start trophic feeds by orogastric tube and monitor for feed intolerance. If accepting well, gradually increase the feed volume and then taper and stop IV fluids. And then infant and orogastric tube at 30 to 32 weeks of gestation age. Try spoon feeds once or twice a day. Also put on mother's breast and allow non-nutritive sucking. Non-nutritive sucking, it doesn't meet the demands of the baby. Actually, it promotes increased milk production and it promotes the maturation of breastfeeding pattern. If accepting spoon feeding well, then we have to increase the frequency and amount of spoon feeds. And then we have to reduce orogastric feeds accordingly. And then when infant on spoon or palladium feeds, we have to put them on mother's breast for each feed. And then we have to observe for good attachment and effective suckling. If able to breastfeed effectively, we have to taper and stop spoon feeds once the mother is confident. Coming to the choice of milk. One thing is we can express the breast milk, and then sick mothers or contraindication breastfeeding. In these rare circumstances, the options available are formula feeds like preterm formula in very low birth weight infants and term formula in infants weighing more than 1500 grams, and then animal milk in the form of undiluted cow milk. So composition of human milk versus animal milk. Human milk, it has energy 70 kilocalories, and then buffalo 88. Then cow, it is 67. Proteins 0.9 to 1.3. And then cow, it has cow milk has highest protein content. And then fat is highest in buffalo. Okay. Then lactose in human, it is 7 grams. Then vitamin D also is 0.81 in human milk. And then vitamin C is 3.8 mg in human and buffalo and 1.5 mg in cow. And then vitamin B12 0.31 in micrograms in cow milk. And then calcium is 124 in cow milk, in buffalo it's 210. Then folic acid 5.2 in humans, 5.6 in buffalo, and then iron 0.08 mg in human milk, 0.05 in and buffalo and cow milk. Then coming to water constituents, human milk, it has 88 to 89, and then buffalo 83, and then cow milk it is 90. Then cholesterol is rich in cow milk. Then retinol is rich in buffalo, and then sodium is low, appropriate to the needs of newborn, and why? Because kidneys, they are immature, so they can't handle higher sodium stress. And then potassium is 60 mg, and then phosphorus is 15 mg, whereas these are higher in case of cow milk. And then how much to feed those who are breastfed or by spoon, palladi or intragastric tube. So those who are breastfed, they can feed breastfeeding on demand or every 2 to 3 hours. If baby is sleeping for more than 3 hours, we have to promote rooting reflex. Okay. And then infants who are fed by spoon or palladi or intragastric tube, first thing is we have to know the fluid required rate of newborns. Actually, in case of preterm, there is increased insensible water loss, and then the fluid requirement is for more than 1500 grams. First day is 60 to 70 ml, and then for less than 1500 grams, it is 80 ml per kg, and then that fluid rate, it should be increased to 10 to 15 ml per day to until day 7, 160 ml. Okay. So how much what fluid we are giving, and then how much spoon or palladi we should calculate, and depending upon the day of gestation, we have to slowly increase. Okay. And then coming to nutritional supplementation. Supplementation for infants with birth weights with 1500 to 2499, and then with less than 1500 grams, it varies. Okay. Why? Because most of the deposition of vitamins and nutrients happens during the last trimester. So when baby is delivered prior to this, so they are lacking all these vitamins and nutrients. Okay. So for infants with birth weight 1500 to 2499, only vitamin D and iron is enough. Okay. So vitamin D in the form of vitamin drops at the dose of 400 international units per day. It should be started 2 weeks to 1 year of age. And then iron drops with a dose of 2 mg per kg per day. It should be started 6 to 8 weeks to 1 year of age. Then coming to supplementation in very low birth weight infants. The following nutrients have to be added to expressed breast milk in them in the dose of calcium and phosphorus 140 to 160 milligram per kg per day. Then phosphorus 70 to 80 mg per kg per day. Then vitamin D 400 international units per day, vitamin B complex and zinc, usually in the form of multivitamin drops. And then folate about 50 microgram per kg per day. Then iron 2 mg per kg per day. These supplementation can be ensured by supplementing individual nutrients, but we have to take care of, we shouldn't add same time. Why? Because it increases osmolality of the milk. Okay, so we should supplement at regular intervals. And then by fortification of expressed breast milk with human milk fortifiers, they doesn't increase osmolality, they only increases the nutrient content of expressed breast milk. And then coming to burping after the feed. Anyone in the family can involve in this lovely job of burping. Okay. What happens is when baby swallows milk, other than milk, they swallow air also. Okay. As a result, it results in abdomen distension. Okay. So we have to pat over the back, and then it results in expulsion of gas. Okay. If improperly burping is done, it leads to gastroesophageal reflux disease. And then coming to special conditions. Infant conditions are hyperbilirubinemia. In hyperbilirubinemia, there is no need to withhold breeding. Only in case of severe hyperbilirubinemia only we have to withhold breeding. And then coming to congenital anomalies which require special management are craniofacial anomalies like cleft lip palate and Peary Robinson's modified positioning with obturator devices. They are needed in the form of nipple shield like that. Okay. And then in case of cardiac or respiratory conditions, only 2/3 of fluid should be given, and then not to overload. Then in case of restrictive lingual frenulum, ankylosing or tongue tie, we have to do glossectomy. It causes difficulty in breastfeeding. Then coming to maternal conditions, these are endocrine diseases. They have the potential to affect lactation and milk production. Coming to women with diabetes, when mothers they are breastfeeding, their glucose levels they are well maintained. Okay. Next, diabetes, it causes delay in secretory phase of lactation. And then coming to thyroid disease. In hypothyroidism, there is decreased milk production. And then in hyperthyroidism, there is palpitation, agitation, and then tremors. As a result, all this hinder the breastfeeding. Okay. And then gestational ovarian thecal lutein and retained placental fragments, they cause delay in secretory phase of lactogenesis. And then women with history of breast or chest surgery. Prior to delivery, we should assess for any breast surgeries like mammoplasty or augmentation or reduction surgeries. Okay. And then the approach of breast like the intramammary or other methods, we should check. And then if problems are there, we have to correct before delivery. And then absolute contraindication breastfeeding are when infant with galactosemia and mother with active untreated tuberculosis, and when women who test positive for HIV. Actually, in developing countries like India, we can give breastfeeding because that's due to, other than breastfeeding, like use of formula feeds, they are more than perceived to HIV. Okay, and then we should never combine breastfeeding with formula feed. Either only one method should be used. And then these are the conditions that are not contraindications to breastfeeding. When mother who is hepatitis B surface antigen positive, it can be hepatitis B, immunoglobulin, okay, and then vaccine. Then in case of hepatitis C viruses, cytomegalovirus positive and mothers when febrile and exposed to low level chemical agents, and then tobacco smoke, alcohol use, these are not contraindications for breastfeeding. And then maternal medications and breastfeeding. So drug properties, it depends on molecular size, pH, pKa, and then maternal factors, it depends on how much and associated risk factors, and then infant factors like the preterm or term, and then there is immaturity of kidneys. Okay, so breastfeeding is for brain development, and then other feeding are for body development. So okay, so you should keep in mind that breastfeeding is the ideal feed for newborns. Thank you. Girish, stop sharing.